Now, this has been met with thunderous cheers and applause and a lot of stigma and disdain for people that disagree. Apparently, Florida will ban anyone under the age of 14 from owning a social media account starting next year. And they will also delete existing accounts. Right. Um, Now, I do agree that being forced to listen to the opinion of a 14-year-old on the internet should be considered a human rights violation. I do not understand the people who support small government, right? Which is pretty much a lot of DeSantis supporters. Like, they want small government, small government. But it does seem that as long as the government manages to push for a very invasive legislation that will invade your online privacy, like you can imagine yourself sitting in your underwear in your bedroom, clickety clacking at the computer, and then Ron DeSantis' smiley face just goes into the door to look and see what you're doing, right? Because this is what you're supporting pretty much. It shows that a lot of people don't think this through. I do not. How is it that they think? Do they believe that the government has a magic wand? Do they believe that Ron DeSantis has an army of spellcasters, of diversity hags that conjure up mystical energies, and it will start preventing 14-year-olds from going online? Is that what they believe? No, dumbasses. They will start harvesting data from you because you may be a 14-year-old. And now the social media companies will be forced by law to use AI and other detection systems to make sure that you aren't a 14-year-old. And they will be like, well, V, of course I don't. Well, how does the company know? They can't know. You're Skullfuck47 for them. Username, right? So they're going to start looking and having to see if you're 14 or not. How will they do that? Probably use AI. Probably require some form of identification. And once this is done, it normalizes the process. You know, you have leftists that do have a point when they say, well, racist jokes lead to racism, sexist jokes lead to sexism. Well, the government harvesting your data and your private information leads to more of that shit. So, people like myself don't have an issue with the fact that kids shouldn't be on the internet. I think that's a great idea. But how are you going to implement it? Like, preferably, the normal and healthy way in a civilized society would be for parents to start parenting. And for the parents to be able to decide when and what websites and how their kids access the internet. But in a barbaric, totalitarian society with people that legitimately want big daddy government to raise their kids for them, well, they want the government to say, well, if you're under 14, you can't use social media. And you know what? I am willing to bet. How much money do you want to bet? Because I used to be 14 as well. You know, that there were a lot of hurdles that were placed to me, and I knew how to dodge them. So I'm willing to bet that there's going to be 13-year-olds that figure out ways on how to get around this shit. But what can you do? You know, I'm generally curious to see how it's going to be implemented. Like, will they require you to have a social security number? No, probably not, because then they will say, well, you can't because it's racist, because immigrants. They will require some form of verification, though. Probably facial ID or fingerprinting or whatever. You know, they will find a way, and they will get the social media companies to harvest your information because, well, that's what right-wingers support nowadays, I guess. And when push comes to shove, like there's a recent article which came out 2 days ago where some people were running a scam on YouTube, and then YouTube was required by the government to hand over all the details like IPs, names, usernames, and all that stuff of the people that watched those videos. So even if you weren't running the scam, like simply clicking on that video and seeing what it was, well, now your information belongs to Uncle Sam. So, you know, like it's the same people that were cheating for Texas, asking Pornhub to also require verification. To protect minors, of course. I mean, obviously, right? And do you not realize what that means? Like, if you go there, then you'll have to show like some form of identification, and your entire browsing history is now going to be open for blackmailing. And again, even assuming that this is completely on the up and up, right? So the social media companies will not sell that information to third parties. The government will not abuse it. And it's very easy to abuse, by the way. Like, all you need is to leak it to the press. right? You want to destroy someone's career, you use the porn. That is the easiest way, has worked throughout human history. Find out, you know, what their browsing history is, leak it to the press, there you go, you just destroyed the man's entire reputation. Even if you watch his vanilla, nothing that they do regarding this, even though every man watches pornography, if you have like a person and you expose what they like in the public, reputation over, right? But let's assume that doesn't happen. Let's assume that none of that is going to happen. What if the company gets hacked? What if the company gets hacked? I mean, that does happen. That happened quite a lot, right? So almost every single company on the face of the earth eventually got hacked and some of their data leaked. And again, like people are like, see, Pornhub, they just want minors to access their website. No, they just understand what is being asked of them. Besides the fact that it's expensive to implement, they also realize that if they keep giving in to what Texas demanded, then there's going to be other states demanding the same, and it's going to harm their business because most people don't want to use their IDs when viewing pornography on the internet, right? And in this situation as well, like, how are they going to implement it is what I want to know, right? Now, if it would be on an honor-based system, and by the way, like, this is how I used to do it when I was a teenager. It was like this thing on the internet back then. The internet was very unregulated, but there were places like 4chan, for instance, where they wanted you to be 18 to view the site. I wasn't. But like myself and many others, we kept quiet about it. You know, and the people that would flap their mouth and they would say that they're 17 or 16, you know, immediately they would be ousted, right? So, I guess if you're dumb enough to admit, then, well, you get banned. That's how the internet used to be back in the early 2000s. Now, we live in the age of AI. Now, it's probably not going to be an honor system. Now, they're going to probably require some sort of government ID or photo or facial recognition or whatever for you to use social media. And again, like, to me, what I find the most disturbing is that right-wingers support this. And they support this so hard that if you contradict this, like, oh, you're against children. It's like, no, I'm not against children. It's like, if you have a child, by all means, fucking parent them. Right? Why are you asking the government? Like, why are you asking my representative to parent your child for you? Are you incapable? Are you really not incapable? Really? Because the thing is, I have a child on the way as well, right? It probably will arrive in June, early June or mid-June. And I actually did discuss with my wife the issue. It's like, okay, what are we going to do with the internet? And we arrived to the conclusion that until he is age 12, 13, he's going to have no internet no computer access. He's going to have television, the same way that I grew up, with restricted hours, of course. And once he reaches that age, he's going to have a computer, probably a laptop, with no internet access, with games that I will install, such as Prince of Persia. Very good game. Should check it out. The old one, not the new one. And, and as he grows up, eventually, yes, he will have access to a computer with spyware that I will install to see what he browses up until he's 18. After he is 18, God bless. It's like playing the gacha, right? It's like you either have a good kid or a mediocre one or a bad one. It is what it is. You did your job up until then. But I don't need the fucking government to step into my house and decide these things, right? Like, the only thing I would want the government is to have legislation like, okay, no smartphones in schools. That would be great, you know, because it's difficult to keep your kid from getting a smartphone when all the other kids have one. It's more complicated. But if the government would come in and they would say something like that, that would be great, you know. But this idea, it's like, oh, well, if you're under the age of 14, no Twitter. And you believe them. You believe them that this is their concern. Right. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.